Wait, what? We're on Dynasty for game number 1. How in the world are we on this map of all maps? As game number 1 in a best of 3 series. What were your vetoes? Okay, spotting right here in the top right-hand corner. Playing with the red Zerg drones. And somehow, apparently, yeah, going along with the worst map for Zerg in the current map pool. We're looking at none other than Shin's main hatchery. His opponent, down in the bottom left, playing with the blue Terran SCVs. And I can imagine he's got a bit of a smile on his face. We're looking at Cure's main command center. Generally speaking, okay, this is a map that's an instant veto. We rarely see it, even in like a best of 7, it will oftentimes not come up, because players just really don't want to play on Dynasty. But it's been popping up a little bit more as of late. Now, this particular series is from the Esports World Cup, a $1 million event. So these two are certainly taking this series very seriously. So for Shin to go ahead and okay, I'm a little surprised, but I guess him going for the gold base on this side of the wall is already a little bit interesting. We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what the man's plan is, because I don't think you pick this map and then decide to just play a normal macro game. It'd be very surprising. There's a lot of choke points, a lot of tight areas in general, where timing attacks from Terran are nearly impossible to stop. So I would imagine that Shin is not all too keen to play a long, drawn-out match here. We're gonna transfer drones. No gas taken yet in the main. So this was a 15 supply hatch. I'm assuming this gas will be taken right at the very start, which is a rich Vespian geyser. And, well, so far, Cure is happy to apparently just go for a command center over at his own golden mineral line as well. It's a standard opener from the Terran, albeit one where apparently we're not walling the main ramp. Maybe he was a little bit late sending the SCV and he just sort of put it down over there. It's a double barrack start here for Cure, but why did we not make a wall off Cure? Okay. That's actually a little bit weird. Like something like a Bailing Bust? Or maybe like a Ravager all-in? Okay. There's the Roach Warren. Something like that is a very viable choice on a map like this. So for Cure to not wall himself in, maybe he actually did it on purpose, as he's now going to start harassing those workers from, I guess, the correct side of the mineral line. Gets a drone kill as well, not bad. You know what? Maybe he does this on purpose so he can actually plug a bunker over there. I wonder if that's the game. I think that's the plan, actually. That's not a bad idea now that I think about it a little bit more. So far, this Reaper is getting way too much damage. Another drone goes down. Rather sloppy game here so far by Shin, who is now preparing, by the way, yeah, to make a bunch of stuff. Roaches are coming. He is ready to start sending some units, I believe, towards the other side of the map. Bunker indeed completes the wall off. Okay. I was thinking that maybe this decision here from Cure was a little suboptimal to not wall himself in early. Apparently he's not worried about like an early game link flood, because I guess that's the biggest problem you could run into if you don't wall at the very start. But I mean, what are the odds of Zerg going for like a, I don't know, like a 12 pool or 13-12 or anything like that? Rarely happens against Terrans these days. So yeah, he decides to just wall himself in and use some of that extra money that he's generating from that golden base himself. Now, Roaches and Ravagers are already going across the map. They've mostly been produced over on this base, it seems, so I don't think that Cure actually has seen any of these units, but he has seen the timing of the Roach Warren, and obviously he's well familiar with what Zerg is capable of, and well, he's gonna have to be microing at home. It takes 7 corrosive biles to kill a bunker, so we're not quite there yet, especially with repairs. It should be relatively easy. First supply depot falls. This Overlord, by the way, is absolutely critical. It's providing the high ground vision that the Zerg player needs here to actually rain those biles. So this does deal full damage to both structures. So far, though, I mean, if we have 5 Ravagers, there's no link speed or anything like that on the back of this either. Just a bunch of slow Zerglings. Yeah, I don't think this is actually going to be broken. So this bunker that I was critical of, this positioning here for Cure that I was doubting earlier, turns out to be quite clever. There's no exposed add-ons here either. We do have one cheeky little roach being annoying. It's going to shut down some of the mining. I think Shin is not adding on any additional units here. No. He's just biling and he's hoping that he's going to, well, waste enough resources here on that mass repair to make this worthwhile. And I guess in the meantime, there's also like a ton of workers that are just not doing anything. One little Marauder will be able to take care of that Roach relatively easily, but during all of this, I quite like this actually by Shin. He's been macroing up, he's been going for a lair, he's building a third hatchery. He's had a nice little income advantage. SCVs finally go back again now that the Ravagers have left. They're thinking about going around the site. They want to harass this base here for a little bit. Getting some workers is actually quite nice. I actually don't mind this for Shin at all. So rushing out the golden base with the rich Vespian Geyser seems to be the play. Now there are 2 medevacs full of units. We do have Stimpack done at this point in time. No combat shields yet. No +1 or anything either, but he does need units at home. And this is effectively, what is this, like 14 Marines? No, like 12 Marines and a couple Marauders. Anyways, it's a bunch of bio, Marine Marauder medevac. A golden unit composition, and it's very strong on the other side. Ravagers are gonna desperately start running back home, but this map is still rather long. Well, there are actually a lot of kills here. A lot of SCVs have gone down as well. 10 of them in total. That makes this game a little bit more difficult for Cure though. He was busy microing these units on the other side of the map. And in the meantime, he lost a bunch of his workers at home. Dude, this golden wall makes it so annoying for the Zerg. He can't defend his own bases. Yeah, because these units have to go all the way around if they want to meet back up. They're very disconnected. I mean, I think if Cure can stabilize here, he's going to feel pretty good. Yeah, the only problem is he's lost a ton of SCVs. 10 of them going down. I think he probably should have lost, well, maybe the first 3. Those were pretty difficult to avoid, but I think the additional ones that came after that were mostly avoidable. Shit, in the meantime, by the way, did take this expansion as well. The natural. Roach speed is going to finish up. At least that's going to make the base defense a bit easier, but this is not a setup where Shin can really continue aggression very well. It takes 3 biles to kill a siege tank, so that was a waste. Not sure why committing there in the first place is the right call. A lot of SCVs though, or a lot of drones rather. Zerg SCVs. They've all gone down already. And I think the longer that this goes on, the more comfortable Cure becomes. Oh. Shin thinks he's playing basketball over here. He was hoping that that boost was gonna wear off a little earlier. We see it attempted many times. It rarely ever lands, but you know what? That one time it does land. You do feel like a god. And honestly, if he would have killed both of those medevacs full of units, this game would have been very, very playable once again. So there's the +1 starting up. Third command center is about halfway done. There's no real attack lined up here for the Zerg player. So if that's the case, I think you can maybe skirmish a little bit, but that's about it. I think because of that though, Cure is going to feel much more comfortable in this situation. He can secure the third base on the low ground. He can just get his bio upgrades going. He doesn't really need to make a change. Whereas for Shin, he can decide to stick around on Roach Ravager. But this is a unit composition that does fall off the longer that the game goes. Generally speaking, when Terran gets to say like 2-2 upgrades, for example, or beyond that, suddenly the Roach Ravager army just doesn't do much anymore. So very... yeah, frequently we see Zerg players already desperately trying to make a transition towards something else, whereas Cure doesn't really have that urgency. I mean, there's mistakes on both sides here. You can see that both players are maybe feeling a little bit nervous going into this series. This is, by the way, from the elimination bracket of the EWC, meaning that the loser of the series goes home. So, you know, you really do want to perform to the best of your abilities. Which is why it's so surprising to see Dynasty as game number 1. I think this was the build, though, that Shin had prepared, right? So Shin decided to let this map slip through the cracks. He realized that it was going to very likely come up. And because of that, well, his trick didn't really work, right? Like, he dealt a bunch of damage, sure. I liked overall what he had going. But now he needs to play a longer game. And I don't really know how much of a plan there is on the back of all of this. We have additional tech labs, 4 of them. It's not very frequently that we see 4 tech labs on the production tab. +2 will likely start up for the infantry weapons. Oh, did he just buy his own command, or not his command center, his hatchery? Because I'm pretty sure the Marines were no longer gunning at it. It's a little hard to tell. I think actually the Marines were the ones getting the final hit there. Sometimes the edge of the creep is somehow still attached to the hatchery. And you can actually do a little bit of damage to your own structure if you're not super careful. Don't think that was actually one of those instances, but the fact of the matter is, though, that Cure did end up getting the kill on that base. That is an additional 300 minerals down the drain. Now we do have a transition coming up, though, for Zerg. So, we're going to be going into a Baneling Nest. We're going to see an Infestation Pit, and he's trying to stabilize on what seems to be like a Ravager, Ling, Bane type of unit composition for now, with maybe some Hive upgrades, or maybe even some Hive spellcasters on the back of it, too. Problem is, we're still minutes away from that being a reality, and I think he needs like at least 80 drones or so, maybe at least 75 drones to really play that comfortably. Now he's sitting at 64 only. The creep spread is decent, but nothing to write home about. 4th Command Center in the meantime starts up on the side of the Terran. I really like this setup, by the way, for these siege tanks and that bunker over here. It seems funky, but it actually is very functional. It's funky-tional. No, he's putting the fun in functional. That's what I'm trying to say. Lovely little setup here. Just constantly bullying the Zerg with this slow-moving army. So, yeah, Link Speed is gonna finish up in about a minute or two. Hive indeed starts up too. It's kind of funny to see both Zergling Speed as well as a Hive on the production tab. Again, not something that we see all too often. In the meantime, the Roach, well, Ravager Ball here up north is getting some reasonable traits, but again, this is something that Cure will be quite happy with. If Zerg is losing units right now, it means that they have to replace units, and if they're replacing units, they're not making drones. And even though Cure doesn't know the exact worker count that Zerg is on right now, he must realize that it can't be a whole lot. It's only 4 hatcheries for the Zerg. 4th Command Center just about to start, or just about to finish up even. We'll probably start up a planetary fortress here in the middle. This golden base is running out too, which I actually quite like here for Cure, because that means everything can be connected a little bit easier. Yeah, well done right here by Cure. Crisis management has been superb. So, Zergling Speed finishing after Baneling Speed. And we do have a pretty strong army. This is a force for the Zerg that needs to be respected. But it's also a force that generally does not have a ton of longevity, right? I mean, these units literally blow themselves up. So you need to be able to replenish it. So usually, Roach, Ravager, Ling, Bane, it's played off of a lot more drones than just 61. He needs to get ultimate value here with these units. Gold base is running out. We have a couple of Vipers coming, though, and they can provide a lot of value, but here comes Cure. He wants to hit a timing with the +2 infantry attacks. He's decided to move at the perfect time. It's a little early. I mean, he needs to wait a couple more seconds before engaging here, preferably. I would love to see a scan to try and see if we can get rid of these tumors. Because honestly, unless the Banelings connect, life is going to be... Alright, this is a nice little run by. Life's going to be quite manageable, I think, for the Terran, all things considered. But these Lings going in is quite annoying. 10 SCVs going down. +2 has just finished up, though, for the infantry attacks. There's enough energy again for the scan. Planetary Fortress in the meantime on the low ground. I think we need to keep our eyes right over here, because this will be a fight that can decide the game. Zergling run by is going to make use of that golden wall that has been opened up. But can Shin defend this? He does have Vipers, there's 3 of them. Blinding Clouds are nice and all, but the siege tank spread is already looking incredibly good. Reinforcing Marines and Marauders will ultimately clean this up, but Shin is going to have to pull the trigger, and apparently that moment is right here, right now. He does get the Blinding Clouds off on quite a few of the siege tanks. Some good abductions as well on the tanks in the back. I mean, Shin making the best of a really difficult scenario, and you know what? He actually wins the fight. Woo! Well done here by Shin. I actually thought that fight was going to go horribly wrong. Cure does not have any ghosts in the mix, so there were no ways for him to really get rid of those Vipers. The Blinding Clouds getting EMP'd, right? The Vipers getting EMP'd would have been massive. But he actually shuts down that aggression, and he deals a bunch of damage on the other side of the map. That right now makes this game a hell of a lot more interesting, because Cure is put on a bit of a timer. He's not rebuilding the economy. He still has a massive army, though. He's actually catching the Zerg player right now as they're trying to morph in Banelings. Adrenal Glance is right now done as well for the Zerg player, so that's good. But are there any units to really benefit from it? This fight seems to be going better than the main one that we just now saw. Baylings trying to see if they can connect with those juicy Marines. Beautiful splits right here by Cure. Cure got rid of all of that creep. And now all of a sudden, my god, the reinforcements show up. Cure is looking dominant once again. He hasn't fired up +3/+3. He hasn't fired up a Ghost Academy. He does have a good economy, I guess, ish, compared to the Zerg, but nothing amazing. This is for all intents and purposes an all-in right now for Cure, and I think he gets it done. This is a decision that we, most of the time wouldn't see from the top-level Terrans, but I think Cure looked at that fight. He's like, well, I lost the battle, but I think I can still win the war. GG. Shin! What? How did we go Dynasty game 1 and then Amphion game 2? Can somebody go talk to Shin about map vetoes? Shin, by the way, the pro gamer previously known as Ragnarok. One of the very best Zerg players from Korea. This man knows what's up, but for some reason he's letting some very interesting... Maybe I haven't looked at the map statistics in a while. So Terran versus Zerg on Dynasty now has about a 65% advantage for Terran. In the past, for a long time actually, that used to be about 80%. So that would mean that Zerg would be losing 4 out of 5 games against Terran on Dynasty. Apparently right now, it's been reduced to a meager 2 out of 3 games. Fair enough. Amphion, also a bit of a tricky map, so that's the one we are on right now. Oh, this one is actually evened up. So it's currently 50-50. Interestingly enough, in all the time that this map has been around for, which has been since March, so in the last half year or so of this map being around, we've only had 82 tournament games of Terran versus Zerg. That is not a whole lot. If I look at like a more commonly picked map, like say like an Alcyone, just to give you a little bit of perspective. Alcyone has been around for a little longer, I guess. So I think maybe about a year at this point. But Alcyone has 455 games of Terran versus Zerg logged in tournaments. Anyways, it was obvious that Shin had a plan for the previous map. Curious to see if he's gonna have one. Curious. If he has one as well for this one. Now, by the way, if you are enjoying this, do make sure you hit the like button down below. I know it's a little bit annoying that I have to ask, but you know what? Every single video that I upload on YouTube where I do ask you guys to hit the like button, a lot of you do, thank you very much, and those videos always perform much better. Viewer-wise, it seems like it really does have a very significant impact on the reach of a video, so I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. We do have a fairly standard opener here, once again for the Terran. In the previous game, actually, it was a little odd with the second barracks coming up, and I guess the positioning of the structures was a little different than what we most of the time see, but ultimately still fairly standard. Shin also opening up with what I consider to be fairly standard. It is a 15 hatch. It's fallen out of favor a little bit, but some of the Zerg players really, really liked it. In case you missed that, about a year ago, there was a Brazilian Zerg player named Eric. I haven't really seen him play much since then. But for a little while, so he's a Grandmaster League Zerg player, so by no means, you know, bad at the game or whatever, but certainly not quite at the level of many of the players that copied this build. He invented a new way for Zerg players to open up. And it was kind of cool, because it allows Zerg to get the queens out about 10 seconds earlier, and then also basically guaranteeing themselves to get the natural expansion down without getting blocked. So it's a 15 supply hatchery on the low ground rather than a 16 supply hatch. Very small difference. The order that follows it is also a little bit funky. Usually the gas timing is a bit later, so there are some differences. Ultimately, we're just talking differences of maybe about 10-15 seconds around the clock. It's really not that big of a difference, but you know, for a game of StarCraft 2, right, where we consider the early game quote-unquote solved, for somebody to come in and just change the way that everybody plays, I think it's really cool. Shows us that even though... Ooh. Alright. Shows us that even though we think we know everything, we don't necessarily, well, have all the info we might just need. It's very much so a reaction to what Terrans and what Protoss players are doing. Now, this is a cute little opener here by Cure. I like the positioning of the third command center. He wants to mine out this mineral ball a little bit quicker, and that's one way to do it. But this was a lair that started up right after the Reaper died. So the Reaper died Lair immediately starts up. We'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what Shin's plan is. Could just be a normal timing here, but he hasn't started up a Baneling Nest yet. Normally you'd go for a Baneling Nest, well, maybe 20 seconds ago to go for Baneling speed immediately. There is really no way here for Cure to comfortably scout this at this point in time. This could be a Muta play, although he would have to get more gases. It could be a Nydus Worm play, although he would have to get more gases. Actually, for Nydus, he could go like Nydus, like Zergling Queen. That's an option. Yeah. Ooh, I think that is the plan. So upon giving up on that... Upon giving up on that Reaper, Shin immediately strikes. There is a dark spot in the main base of the Terran player. Shin will have to get vision of it, but there's quite a bit of space here where he could be planting the Nydus network without really his opponent knowing anything. The Hellions, the Banshees, where's the Banshee? We have one of them. It's being used right now to provide high ground vision for this Overlord. This is a complete all-in right here for Shin. So there's the Nydus Worm being planted inside of the main base, and it is certainly not within vision. Although the shoveling of the structures might... No, it's not. I was thinking maybe it's gonna give him the heads up, but here we go. Suddenly, there is a Zerg infestation inside of the main base of the Terran player. It's a very large main base. I don't think this was the original plan here for Shin, but upon seeing that Reaper going down, he decides to immediately commit. In the meantime, some reinforcing Zerglings are being used to clean up Hellions that decided to drive deep. No liftoff on the command center. Massive mistake right there from Cure, who's desperately trying to deal with everything that's going on here. There's a couple of drones as well inside of the Nydus Worm. Okay. Are we gonna... Okay, yeah, sure. Spinecrawler rush him. We're building structures inside of the main base of the Terran player now. My god. Yeah, the Queens with this many transfuses, they just don't really die. 28 SCVs have already gone down. Keep in mind that this is triple CC, so Terran can come back here. Unless they lose everything, I suppose. It is doable. I think, though, at this point, this game is pretty much in the bag for Shin. The Spine Crawlers are just going to seal the deal. They're going to poke away at any unit that will pop out of the barracks. Siege Tank here will be saved by the Medivac for now, but it's not going to have an easy time sieging up anywhere. And that means we are going to go to game number 3. And just like that, we find ourselves on a standard map. We find ourselves on Alcyone. Final game in this best of 3 elimination match. Last place, by the way, for the EWC was $15,000. Which is still kind of insane to think about. We've had so many tournaments in the past where... So first place for this event was $400,000. And Clem, who won this tournament, also won the MVP award, which was an extra 50 grand, which is not bad whatsoever. But there were so many tournaments in the past, right? I always think of Teja in particular. Teja is one of the all-time legends of StarCraft 2. The man won so many events. I'm actually pulling up his Liquipedia page right now in the background. I gotta scroll all the way down. It's a very long list. But if you look at the tournaments that he's won, he won IEM Season 9 Shenzhen, the DreamHack Summer Open in 2014, Home Story Cup 9. He won about, I think about a dozen, maybe 13, 14 premier tournaments. But most of them are about 7,000, 9,000, 10,000. His biggest prize pool ever was winning in 2013, and that was a $30,000 first place prize. Now, obviously, since he won about 50% of the tournaments being played, it still added up, right? But for tournaments in 2024, for last place to award more than first place for tournaments a decade ago is kind of nuts. It is kind of insane. Obviously, these players, though, everybody playing in the EWC this year, they had to qualify for this event. So you can't just, you can't just sign up for an open qualifier and hope for the best. Every single one of the players had to perform well throughout the season in order to be eligible to play in this event in the first place. But anyways, fun to see that we, have still a lot of financial support for the pro gamers as well in 2024. The future at this point is a little unknown, but currently no new season has been announced as of me recording this right now. I've got faith that we will see one, and that we will see more StarCraft going forward. Can imagine, as a pro gamer, it's a little bit sketchy. I mean, as somebody who makes a living, I guess. Ooh. Well, that's a little sloppy, man. We've seen quite a few sloppy mistakes in this series so far. Anyway, sometimes the future can be a little bit uncertain. For me, casting a lot of games and, well, being very focused on video games in general, the future has never been particularly clear. It's always been 1 year at a time, I suppose, but so far, ever since I've started doing this full time, every year has been fine. So let's hope that this year will be fine too. And otherwise, I guess we will try to make the best of it. Anyways, we've got the Marines, or sorry, the Reaper here trying to be annoying. I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking, if I can, as we do have a lot of links coming up. Are we gonna make more? I think this is defensive links, but it seems quite a lot for defensive Zerg links. I'm thinking we're probably gonna see a new balance patch, albeit a very minor one. I'm thinking maybe like an EMP strength reduction, or maybe like a strength reduction against shields in particular for the Ghost. And I'm thinking a new map pool, and then probably in combination with a new season of StarCraft 2. I think, if I had a, you know, if I had my wish list, I think that's probably what we would get. We'll see. Anyways, the links do run in. They were not used as a defensive bunch at all. This is a very committed attack though from Shin, and I don't like it at all. Despite the fact that it's dealing quite a bit of damage, it's costing him a lot too. So, this is an attack that managed to kill some workers, sure. He managed to kill, what, a Reaper and 2 Marines, sure. But it slowed down his own economy a ton. He's still fine, of course, because Zerg can pump out a lot of drones all at the same time, but that's the reason why we normally don't see, well, 14 Zerglings running forward like that and YOLOing in, because now you're going to have to remake those Zerglings. This is triple CC. Cure realizes it, that he's going to be quite safe to just land that 3rd command center right at the very start. Hellions and Terran in general are going to have full map control. And economically, that didn't really hurt Shin, or Cure rather, whatsoever. Maybe he lost a few workers, but I don't think, yeah, 16 Zerglings really makes up for the 4 SCVs here that are, yeah, down at this point. Okay, so we do have double Banshee together with the cloaking upgrade. Barracks number 2 and 3 coming up. We should see SCVs building over at the 3rd base, which is exactly what we've got. And now the lair starts up. This is a much more conventional time than what we had in the previous game. Double engineering bay in the meantime in the back of the natural mineral line. We've got double gas now coming up as well here for the Terran player. He's already building up a nice economy though, and he's going to add on even more barracks. So that's barracks number 4 and 5. He'll probably leave it with that for just a little while and then transition towards barracks 6, 7, and 8 in a couple minutes from now. That's usually as much as we see. 8 barracks, unless the game goes really long. Sometimes you see Terrans going more than 8, but 8 is the established standard. Banshee's going around the right side of the map, trying to see if they can sneak into the main base. There's Queens waiting though, together with a Spore Crawler. Double Evo Chamber coming up. This time around, we do have the lair in combination with a Baneling Nest. So Shin should be able to get that Baneling speed going at a reasonable time. If you can kill the 4th base, that would be really nice, but I think this hatchery is a little too far along. So I don't think he can really achieve that. But still, a little bit of panic is always nice, right? Causing some havoc here on the side of the Zerg. Getting 3 creep tumors, not bad at all. I think we should probably see these mineral fields fully mined away. But this base is now very comfortably taken here, though, for Shin. The only thing he doesn't really have in this section of the map right now is creep. And holding on to this, it does require a little bit of creep in this area of the map. And I'm sure Kira has taken note of that, too. He's trying to intercept any Hellion run-bys on the left side of the map. And speak of the devil, well, we had some Zerglings moving in this direction. The one Hellion on the watchtower, though, apparently distracted them enough. It's gonna be straight Hydraling Bane here from Shin. Okay, so I don't think this is going to be lurker play. It seems to me that he is not really keen on playing long macro games in general, judging from game number 1 and 2. It would make sense, I suppose, if he decides to stick around on Hydraling Bane, and essentially avoid the entire Ghost meta, right? Like, it seems like a lot of Zerg players right now in general are not really that big of a fan of playing late game Zerg. Even though that is, of course, where the strongest units are. Mostly because the Ghost can really bully them quite hard. So, one way to avoid that late game meta altogether is to never make late game units. Maybe get some upgrades, right? You can get the Hydraling Bait upgrades. But for now, it seems like Shin is just gonna stick on Lair Tech here. And he's gonna be sitting on Hydras, Zerglings, and Banelings. And that is one of the very few unit compositions that Terran does not want to be making Ghost against. Well, we did just have Barracks 6, 7, and 8 though, so they're all in the main base. He could still make Tech Labs. He can still certainly make a bunch of Ghosts as well if he really feels like it. I wouldn't mind seeing a few, but you don't want to get too carried away. Pick up. No, nicely done. So we're actually just not deciding to do anything with these so far, which is a little curious. I think going into more Marauders is also very helpful. Marauders are really good at obviously tanking damage that those Banelings could provide. This is an army composition though for Shin that is quite strong. Yeah, against these type of attacks, but at this point the supply count is not looking bad here for the Terran. Keep in mind that this is long before 2-2 is done. Zerg is now also at 1-1 themselves, so these Marines do not quite have the upgrade advantage. They will in about a minute from now, but not just yet. So, this might be the slowest slow push ever. Yeah, he's dancing on the edge of the creep, but he really, like he's saying, yo, you want to fight right now? Come and fight me off creep, or you wait until my 2-2 is done, and I may step onto the creep. Shin currently maxed, or sorry, Cure rather, currently maxed out, using those barracks to his advantage, I suppose. Not committing to anything. This is an awful lot of Terran. We're talking 130 army supply. Well, here's Shin trying to make the decision on whether or not he should engage this. Oh, well, Cure does give him about the best engagement he could have hoped for, with quite a few of the Banelings connecting into all of those Marines. Cure, though, is going to send all of his reinforcements right now across the map. There's a line of blue. Yeah, there will be a lot of reinforcements coming in. And now 2-2 is finishing up. Shin is going to reinforce this. He's got 86 workers, but now he needs to fight off creep, and that is always a dangerous decision. Good control here by the Terran player this time around. Hydras and Queens, though, at the front. Yeah, they can't really easily walk back without their support. Hydra DPS, though, is not to be underestimated, but if the Queens are at the front, that means they are not injecting. And we only have, this is the only set of Queens we've got. There's one more Queen somewhere, and that means that Shin is gonna run out of larva really quickly. Yes, he's got 5 hatcheries. Yes, he's producing it quite quickly, I suppose, but he needs to be very careful that he does not start stacking up too many resources. With only one Queen injecting, you're gonna run out real fast. My god, she's injecting that one base 7 times. Cure is not gonna give up. I think this is one of those attacks that he's just gonna continue executing. He's pumping out so many of those Marines all at the same time. Not bothering making ghosts, not transitioning towards anything else. Not building the mass command center style that we very frequently see. Now, he did go for a 4th command center eventually, but this has been, well, essentially a 3cc attack. Banelings are coming up again. Shin does still have most of the workers that he's had around. Supply count's pretty much even. Banelings are getting cleaned up, though, before they can really do much. These are finally starting to break through the cracks. And it looks like Shin can actually stabilize here. Yes, he's going to be able to shut down some of the Metavex on the retreat. Cure is going to be forced to go home. That was a fight that was going on for like 4 minutes. In the meantime, though, we did see 3-3 start up. The 4th command center is done. And we've got ourselves a hive now on the production tab as well for Shin. I am not expecting any lurker play. Mostly because lurkers are really strong, but also really expensive. Maybe if he maxes out first. Yeah, if he can sneak it out, it would actually be a really nice thing to have. So, Cure decides to go back to worker production of his own. Zergling counterattack does not really get much done. He's finally going for the second factory. So he's been on 8 wrecks, triple base, 1 factory this entire time. Which means that the committed attack was successful, yes. But it wasn't a game-winning one, right? And that is the ultimate goal for that opener. I don't think we can really call this a landslide advantage for him either. Luckily though for him, Zerg does not have any real late game tech. And he still is going to have a massive upgrade advantage when 3-3 finishes up. Because this looks like it's one of those situations where he's going to finish 3-3 basically around the same time that Zerg will start 3-3. So he's going to have several minutes. Ooh, couple banelings once again slipping through the cracks. He's going to have quite a bit of time here where he should have the upgrade lead. There's the +3 starting up. Vipers are once again coming here for Shin. I think Adrenal Glance is a really good choice. He decides to go for the Ultra Cavern instead. I think he will still get Adrenal here as well eventually. And good on him though for holding on there, because I really thought that that attack was going to be lethal. Cure, yeah, mismicroed a little bit. Had a couple too many Banelings connect with his Marines. Maybe I've been casting too many Clem's games, too many of Clem's games as of late. Clem just seems unbeatable when it comes to controlling his late game Terran army. He's making Marines look about twice as valuable as Cure is making them look so far, but there are ghosts coming, and this is right around the same time that the Vipers are getting their energy, and then also the Ultra Cavern is finishing. This wasn't the plan for Cure. This wasn't what he originally wanted to do. But I'm sure he's comfortable playing this style as well. An extra command center is coming up. That is command center number 5. Zerg has just established the gold base, but I think that's a little overly ambitious. Cure is once again maxed out. Zerg is now currently tying up tons of resources, though, into things that aren't useful. Ultra Cavern is also not that useful right now. Not until the chitinous plating upgrade is done. He needs to commit and shut down this Terran army right here, right now. Some good blinding clouds once again do land, but there are some ghosts here in the mix, making it difficult for those Vipers to move forward. And my god, was that concave of Marines effective against those Banelings. There's an Ultralisk coming, but it does not have the armor upgrade. I'm a little surprised we see Shin making them at all, because those Ultras are going to die very quickly to just Marines. He gets one of the Vipers sniped out of the skies. Siege tanks are moving within range right now. If you guys want to see an Ultralisk die quickly, pay attention to this Cocoon over here, okay? I think that Ultra is going to pop and then basically immediately die. Well, sadly for the masochists that enjoy Ultralisk dying, we're never getting to that point. It's Cure who wins the series 2-1.